Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Right, so today I'm going to start the revision program for you, the revision session of the first term of the first term examination. So it will be cover up all the sessions that we coming, mainly the introduction part of the business. So if you are a beginner, so this will be really helpful for you because all the topics that we cover in this term, I'm going to revise it today. So it's like a quick recap. It's like a quick crash course for you to recap this session. Okay, here we go. So what we have learned in this the first term, mainly you can see the business activity and the influence on the business organizations. So we talk about the business activity. The business is anything which can satisfy human needs and wants. We talk about that's under chapter number 1. We talk about business is anything which can satisfy human needs and wants. So it can be a provision of a goods or provision of a service or anything, and therefore the business world, everything happen is a basic rule is there, but it's a basic rule, supply and demand. So the demand is there in the society, and then supply will be there automatically from the organization. The demand will be fulfilled by the supply. So business one is there always in organization to support that thing. So what are things that they are selling in organization? Goods and services. These goods can be classified as two things: consumer good and producer goods. Consumer goods and producer goods. So consumer goods are mainly goods and services sold to the ordinary people rather than businesses. This comes under consumer goods, like we are things that we are using daily life, like newspapers and crispies and chocolates and all the grocery items we call consumer goods. Right? If you go to the supermarket and everything, you can see a lot of consumer goods you are buying, purchasing. That's called consumer good. And there's another type of good we call producer good. Producer goods. So that is the items, the goods and services produced by other business. Right now, the business were produced by one business to another business. Let's say, for example, industrial goods like tractor, like organization, maybe like say huge generator, like an industrial generator, power, industrial vacuum cleaner, right? We don't need those things, no? Do we need a tractor? Do we need a backhoe? Do we need a uh, tipper or lorry to the horse? No, we don't need. We need vehicles, but not the tipper and containers. Ne? Do anyone have a container at your home? No, no, I don't think. So containers are mainly used by businesses to transport different items in the shipments and everything we can do. So basically, there are two consumer categories: consumer goods and producer goods. So needs and wants are there. So what these needs and consumer goods and producer goods, what they're satisfying consumer needs and wants. So needs are normally called the basic requirements for human survival. You can see the needs are consumer mainly we must fulfill the needs, basic requirements for human survival. So these are the mainly the organization. When you grow the organization, the human needs must be. It's very basic. Food, shelter, clothes. These are these basic levels are there in Maslow, Abraham Maslow hierarchy of needs concept is there. There are certain needs levels, I told you: physiological needs, safety needs, social needs, self-actualization needs, like that. There are certain needs are there. So, but anyway, the business organization should be able to satisfy these needs and wants, right? If there's a demand, there's supply. That's a normal reality in the business. So, and another one is a want. Wants are different desires of the goods and services, different ways the people can even can satisfy these needs and wants. For example, if you need the food, food is a basic need, but different types of food. Sandwich can be pasta, it can be rice and curry, it can be pizza, it can be string hoppers, it can be anything like that's coming under wants. So anything needs are compulsory, wants are not compulsory. Needs must be is a compulsory is a must to satisfy. Want is not a must, and needs are basic and common to everyone, and wants are is different and is diversified and not common to everyone. Right. It's that's the difference between needs and wants we talk about. And private and public sector business organization we talk about when we classify the business organization. We had that classification: private sector business and public sector business. And the private sector business we talk about mainly business organization owned by individuals or families. We call private sector business organizations like sole traders and partnership. Okay, and then public sector business organizations mean the public sector. We have a separate lesson we talk about that. The business organization owned by the government. Those are states, departments, ministries and everything. We talk about the public sector business organization. These are mainly uh, private and public sector business organization. So you can see the organizations who are mainly doing the business operations in these two sectors on either private or either public. These are the two types of business organization. And then when you talk about the stakeholders, business stakeholders, there are different types of stakeholders are there. Individual or group with the interest in the operation of the business we call stakeholders. The people who are individuals or business organization in the operation of the business we call business stakeholders. Stakeholders are categorized into two categories: internal and external stakeholders. Internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. You can see the internal stakeholders. We mainly talk about these three internal stakeholders. Who are the main internal stakeholder? Owner, manager, and employees. Right? Owner, manager, and employees. These are the main three internal stakeholders we talk about. Owner means the entrepreneur, the person who actually wants to start the business. He mainly think about the business profit. He's mainly concerned, his main objective is the profitability of the organization. And manager, they're working for a salary. That's their main objective, the salaries of the organization. And employees are mainly organizations. They are working for job security. They are working for job security and base salary and everything. So basically, organizations are these are the main three internal stakeholders: owners, managers, and employees. Right? And if we talk about the external, there are so many external stakeholders are there. Who are the main external stakeholders? External stakeholders are customer, supplier, government, lenders, local community. These are the main external stakeholders in organization. Business organization. Well, customers, they are mainly working for a quality product. They expect quality items at a fair price. And they need suppliers. Suppliers also another stakeholder. They need like orders and everything they want to supply. They are thinking about the like payments and everything on time, full continuation of the orders, everything coming under suppliers. Another stakeholder is the government. Government organizations are mainly thinking about the they want to mainly tax income from the business. That's the main concern. Apart from that, some government organizations they want to know the organization how they are contributing the economic policy of the government, economic policy of the country. These things are there in an organization, the stakeholder list, and also you can see the money lenders. In that category, we can see finance companies and bankers are coming under external stakeholders. So these banking organizations, these wanted to lend money lending organizations, they want to know the financial stability of the organization. They want to know that the business organization can pay the loans and everything on time and in full. What's the company financial stable or not? The other one is the local community. The local community will be thinking about the for help, like mainly like job security, sometimes job opportunities, and sometimes local community will be thinking about the donations, sponsorships, charity programs, and involvement in the community projects, and many more. Sometimes they don't want to actually not those things. Like normally, sometimes they don't want to have some sort of interruptions for their life, like a busy nighttime deliveries, like environmental pollution, air pollution, land pollution, water pollution. So if the organization are contributing to pollution, which make their lives bitter, and as a result of that, they will be protesting and they become like a pressure group because they are in tension and pressure because of losing the peaceful environment. So sometimes some business they actually have to always be doing these activities. Irresponsibly, this person organizations are handling. As a result of that, this local community always makes some kind of pressure for those business organizations. Okay, and we talk about the other one, mainly the reasons for business world changing. Yeah, business world always changing because it's dynamic. It's the most dynamic subject in the world. Keep in mind that also. We'll find out, guys, the strength of the competition. Always competition increasing. As a result of that, we had to increase the business dynamic models, different models. We can see online everything, technological environment changing, economic climate changing, and government legislations changing. Population trends are changing. Demand patterns are changing. World affairs are changing. Social factors are there. Right? Pandemics are coming out, all that. So population trends and world affairs, like world politics, global leaders are changing. Economic climate changing. Strength of competition, everything are changing. You can see as a result of that, business world always leading into change in business environment and everything. Okay. And our chapter 2 mainly talk about the business objective lesson. Business objective we can define as the goals or targets set by business. So in this lesson we talk about mainly businesses are mainly setting some organization objectives in order to achieve in future. This can be short term or long term. Okay, this can be short run and long run. Okay. And we can see, guys, organization when we are expanding, there are certain objectives also change. For a small organization and large organizations, business objectives are different. If you have what are the importance of clear objective, you can see if employee have something to work towards, becoming some kind having clear objective will be motivate workers who that we call that focus. They have some kind of focus, they have some ambition, they have a kind of a target to achieve. Therefore, it always gives some kind of a objective. Okay, today my target is this. I should produce this much. This is my target by my manager. Like that, they have kind of like a main target of the business. Owners will motivate to keep with the business going. They have motivation to keep the business going. So automatically owners will be thinking about the business, the organization they are planning and everything, business going, the survival and everything. They can know, okay, this provides some kind of focus to the owners as well. Help to prepare the plan for the future. Yes. First thing of the business planning is the objective. If you have a business plan, if you have a business idea, first thing is have objective. Why I start this business? Why I doing this job? Why am I conducting this market research? Like that, we can talk about different things. Prepare the plan for the business. So planning also objectives is really important. And finally, it is easy to access the performance of the business. If you have a business organization, so by looking at the objective, we can find out at the end, do we achieve this target or not? So setting targets are really important in that time. And business objectives can be classified like financial and non-financial. So what are the financial objectives we talk about? It's mainly these are the financial objectives. Survival. Survival means like these days, a lot of pandemic, because of that, a lot of business organizations want to survive. Just to have enough money in order to cover up their expense. That's called a survival point. And another one is profit maximization. Some business organizations want to maximize the profit, earns maximum possible revenue for the organization. Sales maximization. Some business organizations want to increase their sales level, revenue level, maximum higher. Some organizations want to have the growth and wealth creation problems are there. They wanted to increase the organization, be improve with growth and wealth creation. There's another financial objective in organization. Business growth and business wealth creation. And some organization want to increase their market share. That's another thing. Increase the number of customers and everything in the organization. That's another objective of business. Increase the market share. And financial security. Some organization they wanted to like profit satisfy, like or sometimes it's called the bread and breakfast business, making enough profit to satisfy the needs and wants of the customer. This is we call a financial security of the organization. And there are some non-financial objectives you can see. Social objectives, something like people wanted to have kind of like a providing jobs for local people, reducing pollution, making contribution to the local community, personal satisfaction, challenge, independence and control, be their own cost like that. There are some certain things are there, non-financial objectives that they try to achieve, personal satisfaction, challenge, independence and control like that. And also, every organization objective, there are some qualities of these objectives. So what are the qualities of objective? We call SMART qualities. SMART, right? SMART is another acronym they're using to find out the qualities of a good objective, right? These are specific, M for measurable, A for achievable, R for realistic, and T for time bound. These are the SMART stand for SMART, SMART objectives. So, reason for changing business objective. This is another thing because always you can't stick to one objective. There are times when the objectives are changing, because when the world very fast change, because dynamic business world. In the dynamic business world, when the objectives are changing, then organization has to take a decision. Okay, what should we do now? We should revise our objective. Do we? Right? We should revise our objectives. A lot of organizations these days is faced with this pandemic situation. So a lot of business objectives they are changing. They change because of the market conditions. They change the market conditions. New entrants are coming. Rivalry in the business. New entrants, competition are there in the industry. Changing technology because of that. Automation, economies of scale, robotics and everything are there. So as a result of that, we are changing. And also performance of the organization are changing. And legislations of the organizations are changing. Internal reasons are there. These are the main reasons business objectives change. Okay, and we have a mission statement. Under mission statement, we call a brief summary of aims and objectives. And if you have mission, there's the same thing, similar to like objective, but we call it a brief summary of firm's aims and objectives. And we have a importance of mission statement. If you have mission statement, that's also it provides help to focus, provide plan for future, make clear to all the stakeholders what the business is trying to achieve. It's like a motto. It's like a kind of like a enter into organization. That's the thing, the description, the summary of the organization. Okay, and there are public sector objectives as well. Something the organization like government can have. Increase the level of education, reduce the crime rate. It can be by police and everything. Increase response time for emergency service, like say fire brigade. Reducing waste time to landfills. This can be objectives to different kind of public sector objectives.
Sir?
And in chapter 3, talk about the sole traders and partnership and everything. So,
Excuse me, sir?
Yes.
So, what are some objectives of private sector companies? Like, how are they different from public sector?
Okay, that's a very good question. So, private sector objectives are normally, as I told you, financial and non-financial objectives. So, as it all here, we talk about there. So, there are private sector objectives, financial and non-financial. Basically, financial objectives belong to private sector. And there are some non-financial objectives are there, even that also private sector people they have, but normally this belong to private sector. So private sector means there are mainly profit-related objectives: survival, profit, sales, growth, market share, financial security, everything. But public sector business organization mainly their first priority is not the profit. Always they want to make some kind of social welfare, of like a public welfare. That's right, social objectives. This is mainly objectives of a public sector organization. And here 2 and 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, personal satisfaction, challenge, independent and control, be your own boss. These things are mainly other objectives and traits of a normally organization, like a private sector individual, they have this objective. So I think that explains that answer. So the difference between private and public objectives are like that. Public sector mainly welfare centered objectives, and private sector objectives are mainly profit-centered objectives, right? And in the public sector objective, you can see these examples: increase education, reduce crime rates, increase response time, and reducing pollution. This can be public sector objectives. Because private sector people, they don't want to do this kind of a thing. They don't want to reduce the crime rates. Private sector individual don't think. I think when he become like a private detective, he can't do the reduce the crime rate because he don't have authority to control the criminals and everything. So chapter 3, you can see talk about the sole traders, partnership, social enterprise franchise, 4 business models. Starting from the very beginning, sole traders. So every business model started with entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are the mainly the individual organization who take all other factors of production into consideration. They are the one who actually make the combine all other factors of production by taking a risk and do some kind of innovative thing. So that's called entrepreneur. So entrepreneur have the 4 roles they are playing. We call it DO: decision making, innovating, organizing, and risk taking. DO. You can easily memorize this. There is a perfume also called DO: decision making, innovating, organizing, and risk taking. Also for entrepreneurs: decision makers, innovators, organizers, and risk takers. And talk about the other one. Some businesses are incorporated and some businesses are unincorporated. These 2 concepts are really important. Incorporated means a business has separate legal identity from their owners. They have so business is separate, owners are separate. Therefore, if in case of an owner dies, business will continue without any problem with another board of directors and CEO. So there is no like a link between the owner and the business. That's called incorporate. So businesses are like companies, private limited company, public limited companies coming under incorporated business. And some businesses are there. There is no legal relationship difference between the owner and the business. Owner dies, business also dies with the owner. Some small businesses like sole trader and partnership we can classify under this. There is no legal difference between owner and the business. Whatever the owner buys, had to buy from the owner. The business doesn't have any kind of a control. They can't buy anything. Everything has to taken under the name of the owner. That's why unincorporated businesses are there, like sole traders. You can't buy a company for a business. You can't buy a land. You have to buy for your name. But if it's a company, you can purchase a land for a company. So business is a company-owned land, company-owned property, company-owned vehicle. Like that, you can do anything for a company. But for sole traders and partners, you can't do it. And there's another important concept we talk about here: the limited liability and unlimited liability. This is also another important concept you have to understand. Limited liability we talk about where business owners is only liable for the original amount of money invested in the business. That's called limited liability. So in case of business bankrupt, the personal belongings are not yet affected. So owners has to pay only up to the investment on. That's called limited liability. And in unlimited liability situation we talk about where the owner of business is personally liable for all business debts. In case of business bankrupt, the owner has settled the business debt by selling his personal belongings. That's the difference between limited and unlimited. So limited liabilities are normally the companies, public limited, private limited companies, even the government organizations are limited liability. Unlimited liability businesses are mainly sole traders, partnership, everything coming under unlimited liability. Okay, here we go. Sole trader definition and their main evaluation. You can see the sole trader is a business owned by a single person, one man show. Main advantages we classify here. Sole trader are all the profit kept by a single person, 100% profit can enjoy. Independent and complete control is there. Easy to set up the business, and flexibility and quick decision making is there in the organization, and can offer a personal service the customer. That's another advantage, right? So the person can provide a personal service to the business. As a result of that, organization will give you very customized service to the business organization, and also may qualify for government help. That's another advantage. Always business organizations are qualifying for the government help. They are the one who always thinking about the government, always want to support the business, small businessman. We call infant business. Therefore, always government supports also given to this businessman. You can see right now also in Sri Lanka, it's because of this pandemic thing, that some business organizations cannot operate. So the government now thinking about now giving some kind of concession for those parties, like giving some kind of monetary thing like 5,000, 10,000 like per person, and also giving some kind of cut off the loans taken by them, or giving some kind of concession time period, like a settle the loan, a bit like a time, if you have to pay some bank loan now, if shops and everything closed, how can you pay the loans? So the government giving some extra extended time period, extended credit time to settle the loans and everything in the banks. So these are the main helps and concessions the government also giving, mainly targeting small business. However, there are limitations we call disadvantages or limitations of a sole trader business model. Unlimited liability. Yes, they have unlimited liability. Their personal belongings will be in trouble if business in trouble, and may struggle to raise finance. Difficult to raise finance is another important disadvantage, because no one likes to give money or support the individual person, because we don't know, we don't have a guarantee, because that person is not financially good, not strong enough, so we cannot trust that one guy. Not like a company. So individual organization, very difficult to find money and everything, and cannot share responsibilities. Another thing, long hours and hard working. That's another thing. Long hours you have to work, very hard working, and no economies of scale. There's no economies of scale benefits. So you can't purchase large bulk items. There no warehouses, big warehouses, only small spaces you have. Imagine if you have a small shop in the middle of a town, small shop owned by one person, you don't have huge warehouse. So you can't purchase bulk of items because you don't have that much of space to put everything in the store. So not like a large organization, small organization, you can see like only 10 by 10, huh? Like a small space you have to fill everything. So how can you expect like a huge turnover from that? So like that, business growth is very limited because hard working can't take holidays, and if owner dies, business also dies. That's why called no continuation, unincorporated status. And we talk about the partnership deals, guys. Partnership business, the second level. So like it's like your kindergarten, and then you're going to primary school. Partnership business owned by 2 to 20 people. So minimum 2 and maximum 20 uh, partners that's possible. Minimum maximum level of partnership. Here also main advantages are easy to set up and run the business organization, and this business organization uh, partners can specialize in their area of expertise, and losses job of running business can be shared, and also more capital can be raised, and financial information are published. Not private limited company you have to publish, but partnership no need to publish. However, there are disadvantages: unlimited liability, profits has to be shared, friction between partners, always why arguments are coming, a lot of people are engaging, therefore cannot make easy decisions, quick decisions cannot take because too much, because there's a saying, too many cooks spoil the soup. Like that, same thing here in partnership also, always frictions, arguments, debates are going on. And sharing liabilities, they are legally binding everyone, so because of mutual agency and tend to be small still. So these are main disadvantages. A lot of partnerships will fail because of these tiny reasons, but advantages are mainly at all because you can specialize partners you can hire. If it's a law firm, you can legal experts you can hire different fields like people who can handle criminal cases, civil cases, divorce cases, corporate cases. You have different expertise lawyers are there. Even engineers also same, different civil engineers, electrical engineers, like that. And accountants also you can see, auditing people, tax specialist people, forensic auditing people, like, and different accounting experts, different doctors you can hire, different lawyers, different. So all professional organizations must start their business as a partnership. There's a rule like that, right? Okay, and there's another important thing called limited partnership. Even the partners, generally partners liability is unlimited, but sometimes there are some excuses are there. We can start limited liability partnership. But somehow this is happening when other partners don't like to take a unlimited liability. At that point, as a business owner, you can say, okay, I can be an unlimited partner. You all can become limited partners. Then one person has to take unlimited liability, and then other partners has to, then they can become limited partners. As a result, they don't need to share their personal belonging in case of business bankrupt. So the main document here regarding the partnership is deed of partnership, the documentation part. The main is the agreement of the partners to run the business. So this includes everything, the legal document which binds all the partners. It says you can see the partners profit sharing ratio, interest on capital, partner salaries, the interest on drawings, how to introduce new partners, how to withdraw the money. Everything is there. It's like a all agreement, like a we agree with that in signing it. But what are the main benefits of having partnership deed? You can settle arguments. You can use to communicate in terms of the agreement, and the rules for taking on new partners can be shown. So everything can be used in that particular way. So partners and everything, partners capital, everything cannot be shown very clearly. Can show. Okay. And that all about the partnership and this one sorted. Let's talk about the franchise business. On the franchise business model, we talk about there are two parties are there in franchise business model: franchisor and franchisee. Right? You can see in Sri Lanka also now so much of fast food franchises are there in the world. Sri Lanka we have like KFC, McDonald's, Pizza Hut, Tacos, Baskin Robbins, Burger King. So much of Subway. These things are there. These franchises, you can see, allow a business operator to trade under their business name. This is the definition of franchise business model. the business organization which allows another operator to trade under their name. So example of franchise business you can see KFC, McDonald's, Pizza Hut, Domino's. Sri Lanka also you can see in case of a Sri Lankan case you can see McDonald's is a franchise. So the franchisee Sri Lanka is operated by the famous Abans PLC, right? Even KFC also same. The KFC is mainly the international KFC, the Kentucky Fried Chicken, and it's operated by international the franchise company called the Yum Brands and the Malaysian group. And this we can say KFC mainly handled in Sri Lanka by the Cargill's group, Cargill's PLC. The other one who have food cities and Cargill's supermarkets and everything. So what are the main advantages of becoming a franchisee? If you apply for this franchise license, if you take the franchise, you become a franchisee. What are the advantages? That is where low risk of business failure. If you start your own business, you have to stay quite a little bit of time to use to the market. You do trial and error period. Customers has to wait some little bit of time. The customers are asking a little bit of extension. Sometimes customers are cheating on the business. Sometimes customers are so much of experience to give. But become a franchisee means you have a low risk of business failure because everything is tried and tested by the franchisee before. Backup support from the organization, big company. Setup cost predictable. National, international marketing campaigns can be organized. Everywhere I can see international advertisements are going on. So huge, famous, and everything. The gamma is there because those are world famous brands, right? Disadvantage of the franchise, you can see profit is shared with the franchisor. Strict contracts have to be signed, right? In case if you violate the contract, they can have the right to cancel the license. Lack of independence. You can't take your own decisions. You can't make your own decisions. You have to always take the approval before and expense you to buy the license. It's not easy to bid for the license. If you become a franchise, so it's another method of business evolving. Like if you become the world, like a McDonald's or Kentucky Fried Chicken in the world. So USA company. So what are the benefits of becoming a franchise? So you don't need to start the business because there are investors looking to start the business. You have to just give the permission. You have to just give the facilities. You have to just give the resources only. Then it will be a fast method of business growth, cheap method of business growth, and you can share the business risk with the franchisee. So more franchisees become motivated than employees because franchisees are more motivated because they are the one who invest their money. So they are taking a risk because of that. They are working hard than employees. However, there are disadvantages to franchisors' point of view. Like if we talk about the international chain, if something happens, potential profits has to be shared with the franchisee. Because if you start your own business there, then you can 100% profit can enjoy. You can get all the profit, but this case you share the profit earned by the franchise to business with them. Because you are getting at the end what only the royalty income only. So every day from the profit, imagine this is from the revenue, about 10% only you are getting. You have to give all the amount of money they have collected and everything for their expenses, administration costs, electricity, staff cost, and many more. So basically, potential profits is going down, and also poor franchise may damage the reputation. So you can see the organizations, like KFC, we had a case like that. There was a worms in the KFC chicken. So in that particular time, a couple of years back, so as a result, total chain of KFC in Sri Lanka under the Cargill's group has affected by this. People actually start not going to KFC in that particular time, but now everything's sorted out. Like that's one poor situation. Low quality franchising, the small information can be spread everywhere, goes virally, and as a result, all that organization, their reputation can go down and spoil and damage the reputation, the goodwill, damage, tarnish the reputation. And risk of merchandising outside. Sometimes we given some rules, the instruction. Okay, you have to purchase the right this one fries from us. You have to purchase the ketchup from us from USA. But without importing from USA, they will tend to actually buy from local supermarkets. This can be happen because they have supermarkets, they have stocks. It can be happen. And cost of supporting franchise may be high. Yeah, sometimes staff training, employee training, technology, backup support can be high. However, they are offering to both parties. You can see these are the things that they offer. The franchisor has to offer license to trade, startup package, including everything, interior decor. I can see that if you go to like a McDonald's, like that the McDonald's, the clown and the bench and everything, you have to support that, the startup package. Employee training and the materials, equipment, marketing support, exclusive geographical area, everything. But franchisee has to pay a one-off startup fee, giving millions of money investing, and ongoing fee based on the sales called royalty, contribution to marketing costs, profit from merchandise material. These things have to be shared. So basically, this is a franchise business model. And in next page, we talk about the social enterprise. The fourth, on the second top, the third topic, the fourth business level, social enterprise. This is a new type of business form. Like normally we talk about it, association clubs and societies. You can see the Interact clubs and the Toastmasters club, Lions club, Leo club. There are so much of social welfare organization. You can see Kennel Club, Photography Club, Animal Welfare, and Social Service Societies. These are main social enterprises. Business that aim to improve the human or environmental well-being. We call social enterprise, like charities. Right? Always these organizations are mainly their main objective is not to earn profit, but the social welfare. What are the features of social enterprise? You can see they have a clear social objective, mission, generate most of their income through trade donation, reinvest most of their profits, and are majority controlling the interest of the social mission, and are accountable and transparent. These are the main features of the social enterprise. Types of social enterprise, there are three different types of social enterprises. First one, you can see cooperatives, consumers and retail cooperatives, worker cooperatives like unions, and charities. Well, famous you can see like Red Cross and everything. How they earn money, how they make money uh, by selling cakes or basically during Christmas time. Sponsored activities sometimes, selling greeting cards, charity shops, car wash, and then items such as musical concerts and everything. They organize to make money, fundraising projects. Okay, now that we're talking about the limited liability companies and multinationals, very important topic we talk about there. So, limited liability companies and multinationals, you can see, is a big organization, comes under large organization. So, under section 1 of the business, we cover small business section. So, under small business section, we talk about sole traders, partnerships, social enterprise, everything. So under big business, you have large business category only we're talking about. This business category is limited liability, multinational franchises, everything comes under large business categories. So these are the business organization which has separate legal identity from their owners called limited liability companies called the incorporated limited liability business we call limited companies. There are two businesses like that, private and public. Private means owned by family and friends, like husband and wife or any friends like that. But one person can start a company. These are the main advantage of a private limited company: limited liability or capital, control cannot be lost to outsider, and business continue the share. Right. So there are main certain disadvantages also there in the we talk about the private sector business limited liability company disadvantages. Financial information has to be shared. Cost of the cost of money and everything that you have to make is expensive to start up. Cost is expensive. Profits has to be shared with among the shareholders like dividends, and then it takes time to transfer shares to new owner and cannot raise huge amount of money like PLCs, right? And you talk about guys, mainly there are two documents, important documents to register a company. We call MOA and AOA. MOA and AOA. So MOA stands for the Memorandum of Association. Under that, we have everything like I think I showed you documents, everything. Name of the company, address of the company, objectives of the company, amount of capital to be raised, everything. Like it's like a biodata, like a description. Memorandum of Association, like names and signs and everything are there in MOA. Under AOA, you have these articles of association that's and the rights of the shareholders, procedure for appointing directors, length of time directors should have served before the re-election, timing and frequency, arrangement for auditing companies, everything is there. This means rules and regulations of the governing company is there, articles of association, like a constitution of the country. And after giving these two documentation, two documents to the company registrar will issue this document called certificate of incorporation. This is similar to the birth certificate of a person. So after you giving that thing, they are giving a license for you. Okay, now you can start trading. That's called certificate of incorporation. Until this, you get the certificate, you can't start the business. That's illegal. You can't start the business. This is a starting point. Like the new company born, and then you have to make a publish, like a statement. You have to, you have newspaper. You have to put advertisement there. Certificate of incorporation. And public limited companies, PLCs are there. These are limited companies whose shares are listed in stock exchange, where anyone can buy and sell shares easily. Public limited companies, PLC. So these companies are like a biggest version of the company, because these are the company can raise huge amount of capital, and at the end of the name they have PLC after their name. In UK, guys, this was £50,000. You must have minimum capital. In countries like Sri Lanka, we have it's like 100 million, 75 million, 100 million, something like that. The minimum capital requirement to register as a PLC in the stock exchange. Because every country has a stock exchange. Sri Lanka we call Colombo Stock Exchange, London Stock Exchange, New York Stock Exchange, Beijing Stock Exchange, and India we call Mumbai Stock Exchange, like that. So in order to register your company in the stock exchange, you must have minimum capital, because every small company can't go and register. You must have a track record, and you must have a minimum capital to be qualified to be listed in the share market. When you go and list it there, first of all you have to invite shareholders, potential investors to come and buy your shares. It's called prospectus, an invitation to purchase the shares. So prospectus is a formal legal document produced by a company that wants the public limited to buy their shares, which provides a detail about the investment and offering. And this situation we call flotation. This invitation we have to provide in the flotation process, going public process. Therefore, in most of the time this was there. And what is the cost of going public? Right? If you are a businessman, you might thinking, what are the costs? What is the main reason I should start a PLC? This is the disadvantage of going public. It's expensive because you have to pay to lawyers. You have to pay for the prospectus have to be printed and circulated. And bankers may be paid to process the applications. Bankers' charges are there. And company must insure against the possibility of some remaining shares unsold. So that will be insurance cost, right? Insurance cost and everything is there. Underwriting fees and advertisements, administrative expenses, and minimum capital requirement. These are the topics that we covered. So mainly these advantages and disadvantages. Mainly you can see the company a limited capital, large amount can be raised. Shareholders have limited liability. PSs can have exploit economies of scale. May be able to dominate the market. PSs have a lot of shares can be bought and sold easily than private companies, because private company difficult to transfer shares, but PSs can easily transfer shares and may qualify, like may have a high profile in the media than private company, because you are very famous because of that large company. However, there are drawbacks of a PLC. You can see setup cost is expensive. There's a risk of losing control. That's the biggest drawback. And more financial information has to publish every quarter, 3 months to 3 months. Maybe more remote from customers, and regulatory control is very high. And managers are the one who control it than the owners. Shareholders are the owners, but managers are the one who real owners. Okay, like so we talk about, so I think the four lessons are there, like half of the year 10 works now we done. In my second video, my second revision program, we are going to talk about the other lessons. So for today, I'm mainly covering the first 4 chapters today. You can see the sole trader, partnership, social enterprises, franchises, limited companies, business objectives, stakeholders, aims and objectives of the business and everything. Okay, from that, thank you very much for hanging out with me. See you on next day. Have a nice day. Good time. Bye.